All right, we're getting closer to the release of the highly anticipated EA Sports College Football 2025. This is a game that a lot of people, myself included, grew up playing every single year for a long time. And of course, it's been over a decade now since the last one was released. But in the age of NIL and players able to legally get paid now, the game is coming back, not at a specific release date yet, although it's widely assumed that it will be sometime this summer, probably in July. We had a teaser trailer come out a couple of months ago. I've made a video or two. There are some channels completely dedicated to this college football video game, and they make videos about it every single day. That's obviously not what we're going to do here, but I am going to play this game when it comes out. I talked about that in the last video that I made, and we have a little bit of news that has come out over the last few days. The teaser trailer came out a couple of months ago. Supposed to have a full trailer sometime in May, and fingers crossed, maybe we'll see some gameplay, some actual game footage in that trailer. But the news I want to talk about today, and I guess not really, well, it is news, some speculation. The news is that the cover athlete, this is something that has been debated really for about 2 years since it was announced that this game was coming back. Who are they going to put on the cover? There's a lot of different ways they could have gone. They could have looked at the last 10 years when they were unable to make a game and maybe come up with some sort of a collage of some of the best players over the last 10 years. They can do sort of what they used to do, which is pick one of the really good players from the season before to put on the cover. Of course, before, they had to pick a player from the year before because that player was gone into the NFL by the time the game came out, and so they could pay him to put him on the cover. They don't have to worry about that now. They can put current players on the cover, and according to EA Sports, that is the plan. They are going to have current player on the cover of EA Sports 2025, but not just one player. And this is a little bit confusing. I've read conflicting reports on this. Some reports say that there are going to be multiple players on the same cover. I've read other reports that say there are going to be multiple covers available, each with one athlete on the cover. Again, for those of you that maybe are my age and you remember the preseason magazines, now these things still come out. I still buy them. I'm in the minority. A lot of the younger people may not even have any idea what the preseason magazines are. But the preseason magazines have always been this way. What's inside the magazine is the same, no matter where you buy your copy of Athlon preseason or Lindy's or Phil Steele or whoever it happens to be. What's inside the magazine is the same, coast to coast, no matter where you buy it. But the cover is different. So, in Georgia or in the Southeast, they would have a handful of maybe SEC players or ACC players on the cover. Out West, they'd have Pac-12 players. In the Midwest, they'd have Ohio State, Michigan. In the Northeast, they'd have Penn State or something like that. So it would be different covers. It sounds like the EA Sports 2025 college football video game is going to take that same approach with their cover. There's going to be multiple athletes. So, and again, sort of conflicting reports. One cover with multiple athletes on that cover, or 4 or 5 different covers available for the game with a different athlete on each cover. Now, the first question I had about this is, who's buying the copy of this game to see who's on the cover anyway? But then I started thinking, I guess when you load the game up, because, games are digitally downloaded now. You don't actually go buy a physical copy of the game. Now you still can, in some cases, buy physical copies of games, but some of the newer consoles now don't even have slots to slide a game disc in. It's all digitally downloaded now. And so I'm thinking, does it really matter who the cover athlete is? But then you start thinking, when you load these games, whoever the cover athlete is usually prominently featured on like the loading screen of the game, or even like menu screens, things like that. So I guess it will matter who the cover athletes are. So in this video, I want to talk about who those cover athletes might be. Now, one of the most popular sort of theories that's out there is that they're going to do 4 or 5 different athletes to represent all of the different conferences. Now, all of the FBS schools are represented in this game. There's 134 FBS schools. They have all signed on to be a part of this game, and almost every single player in the country has signed on to be a part of the game. Arch Manning is the only real notable player that has opted out of being in the game. Other than that, pretty much any player you can name is going to be in there. So the possibilities are endless. So I'm wondering, Maybe they do like one player from each of the what do we have now? Power Four conference, I guess, because the Pac-12 is gone. So do they go with like one player from each conference, right? This is a popular theory that's out there. So it'll be like one SEC player, one ACC player, one Big Ten player, one Big 12 player. If it's just one cover, then they have those 4 players on the cover. Or do they add a 5th player and maybe pick one group of 5 player to go along with the 4 players from the Power 4 conferences? And then, of course, the other option is that there are actually multiple covers of the game available, so that one cover of the game would have an SEC player, a different cover of the game would have an ACC, a Big Ten, a Big 12, maybe or maybe not a group of 5. But who might those players be? Really, to me, is more the point of the video here. Let's talk about some of the players who would make sense to be a cover athlete on this game, knowing now that it is going to be players that are playing this year. It's not going to be, there was a lot of talk about, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, some of the really big players from the last 10 years who, we didn't have a game during that time. Let's go back in time now and honor some of those really good players from the last 10 years by putting them on the cover. That's out the window. We do know I don't know why I'm holding on to this cup of coffee like my life depends on it. Yeah, but good morning, though, assholes, in case I forgot to tell you good morning in that. Let's talk about some of these players that could be on the cover. Now, everybody's got their opinions. I've read a bunch of different articles that list a bunch of different players. Some of them make sense to me. Some of them don't. Quinn Ewers makes sense to me from the SEC. He was a Heisman contender, I guess, last year on a playoff team. He's returning. Texas is one of the biggest brands on the planet, not just in the SEC or in the world of college football. I think he would be a popular choice. Sticking within the SEC, some other options. Now, quarterback is like what immediately jumps to your mind. It's just kind of face of the franchise deal, face of the program deal, right? So when you look at like high-profile SEC quarterbacks, there's not a lot of proven SEC quarterbacks. Alabama has Jalen Milroe. He was okay last year. Georgia's got Carson Beck coming back. He's listed as one of the top returning quarterbacks. I think Quinn Ewers, though, would probably make more sense than Carson Beck. I'm a Georgia fan. I'd love to see Carson Beck on the cover, but I think if they decide to go SEC quarterback, Quinn Ewers is probably the way they go. They're not going to put Graham Mertz on there from Florida. They're not putting South Carolina on there. They're not going to put Brock Vandagriff at Kentucky. They're not putting whatever woozy Auburn's playing at quarterback this year. Same thing. Texas A&M, no. Arkansas, no. Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold, first-year starter. He's not going to be on there. He may end up being really good. I'm not saying he's not going to be good. We don't know. But, talking about cover athletes here, it's got to be a known commodity. And so if you're just looking at quarterbacks within the SEC, it probably comes down to Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck. Quinn Ewers would probably get the nod there. I guess if we stick with the quarterback theme and go through some of the other conferences, you look up into the Big Ten. Well, Ohio State's got a new quarterback. Michigan's got a new quarterback. Penn State's got a returning quarterback, but he didn't impress anybody last year, did he? Drew Aller? No, not really. Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, never played before, true freshman. Iowa, can't get first down. Southern Cal is in the Big Ten now, and they almost always have a Heisman caliber QB under Lincoln Riley. But again, it's going to be a first-year guy. It doesn't make a lot of sense for that to be a cover athlete. Kind of hard-pressed to find a quarterback out of the Big Ten to put on the cover if that's the way they wanted to go. I actually think what they probably end up doing with the Big Ten, Michigan won the national title last year. I think they probably find a way to honor that on this year's cover by using a Michigan player who was really good last year and is back this year, and that player could possibly be Donovan Edwards, the running back at Michigan. When you look over to the ACC, it's kind of a similar story. I don't know that there are a lot of household name superstar type players returning in the ACC. Florida State had a ton last year, but of course they're mostly gone off to the NFL. They do have one of the best defensive players in the country. What is his name? Peyton. Is it Peyton Presley? The Florida State fans are going to kill me for not being able to remember this guy's name. If they want to put a defensive guy on, now look, every conference has some great defensive players that they could put on there. But if the idea is to put a player from each conference in there, right? Who are the superstar offensive players in the ACC this year? It's not the Clemson quarterback, Cade Klubnik. No. Their best player, Will Shipley, was pretty well known, but he's gone off to the NFL now. Maffa's a good player, but I don't know that he's got like the name recognition to be a cover athlete. Where are the elite wide receivers? Georgia Tech, Drake May's gone from North Carolina. He was a household name. You got a couple of transfer quarterbacks starting at places like Florida State and Miami that are both pretty good, but I don't know that they're cover athlete material. Seems like the ACC might be a conference they would lean for a defensive player. And it would make sense. You don't want to have all offensive players on the cover, do you? So maybe they put that pass rusher from Florida State. I should look up his name so the Florida State people don't get mad at me. Is it Peyton? What is that? What is that guy's name? Florida State edge rusher. I swear it's Peyton. Or is his last name Peyton? Patrick Peyton. I knew it was 2 P's. I got that part right at least. Patrick Peyton. He's one of the best defensive players in the country. We've had a lot of fun making fun of Florida State over the last couple of months, 63-3, and their fans won't stop crying about the playoffs. And, they think Kirk Herbstreit is the devil incarnate and all this just dumb shit, honestly. But you got to give credit where credit is due. This is one of the best defensive players in the country. The ACC doesn't really have, to me anyway, another obvious sort of household name to put on the cover. Would make sense to go that direction there. Now, looking over into the Big 12, this might ruffle a lot of people's feathers. I don't know. But look, you can have sort of 2 opposing viewpoints that can both be true at the same time. Okay. We've all, myself included, had a lot of fun pointing and laughing at Colorado over the last 18 months, 12 months, whatever it's been. 4-8 last year. They're a circus. They're a clown show. It's not a college football team. I don't know what it is. It's more like a social media reality show. It's a complete disaster and joke what's going on there. Yes, all of that is true. Deion doesn't know what he's doing. All of that is true. It's also true that Shedeur Sanders is a really good quarterback, and Travis Hunter is one of the biggest names in all of college football. There's not a college football fan on the planet that doesn't know who Travis Hunter is. I could see Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders honestly being the Big 12 representative to be on the cover. Now, I think that's going to piss a lot of people off. A lot of people are going to get mad about that. To me, it actually makes sense. I mean, if you're looking for name recognition here to put on the cover of EA Sports College Football's sort of grand return here in 2025, and you're looking at the Big 12 for a sort of big name, household name type of player, Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter makes sense to me. I would go with Travis Hunter. Nothing against Shedeur. He's great. He's one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in, heading into next year, probably. But Travis Hunter is just one of the most exciting players in all of college football to watch. The guy plays both ways. And I'm not talking about plays DB and then plays 3 or 4 snaps at wide receiver. The guy played over 100 snaps in almost every single game last year. It was unbelievable. Now, he ended up getting hurt. Hopefully that didn't happen this year. But that seems like the Big 12 way to go to me would be Travis Hunter. I could see him doing Shedeur, but I personally would go Travis Hunter over Shedeur. Some other choices in the Big 12. I mean, they lost Texas and Oklahoma. They gained Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and Arizona State. The quarterback for Arizona is really good, but most people don't even the people that know his name can't pronounce it. It just doesn't seem like cover athlete material to me. Kansas State. Kansas. I mean, these are good teams, but I don't see like the superstar on there, like cover athlete type material. It seems to be like for the Big 12, it's going to be Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders. I really don't see any other options in the Big 12. Some of the other conferences, I think there's 5, 6, 7, 10, a dozen different ways they could go probably in each of those conferences, depending on do they want to do offense or defense? Do they do they want to avoid having 2 players from the same position? That may work against Shedeur Sanders. They go with Travis Hunter as a sort of DB wide receiver. They go with Patrick Peyton as sort of a defensive dominant edge rusher. And maybe they go a quarterback from the SEC and running back from the Big 10. Quinn Ewers from Texas, Donovan Edwards from Michigan, Patrick Peyton from Florida State on the defensive side of the ball, and Travis Hunter, sort of a new age dual threat type of guy that would make sense. But anyway, I'm curious what y'all think. Let me know down below. Who do you think they should choose as the cover athlete? Or, if you want to go with the picking 4 or 5 different players, since that seems to be the way they're going. Who do you think some candidates are for the first cover in over 10 years here? The game, it's been 10 years since this game come out. So Who do y'all think it should be? Anyway, let me know down below and have a good morning.